Welcome to this explainer. Okay, so today we are going on a really fascinating journey back in time, but we're going to be looking at things through a highly analytical lens. We're doing a deep dive into the narrative escalation and the absolutely surreal dream logic that's secretly hiding inside two legendary South Asian nursery rhymes. Now you might think of these as just simple, goofy songs for kids, especially if you've seen those hyper-colorful, super infectious 3D animations of them that are completely taking over YouTube today. But if you look just beneath the surface, they're actually masterclasses in structural learning and associative storytelling. We're talking about the famous Mota Hathi, the fat elephant, and Upar Panka Chalta Hai, the spinning ceiling fan. So buckle up because we are about to unpack the hidden genius of early childhood education.
So here's our roadmap for today. First up, we'll explore the elephant progression, followed by the monkey's rescue. Then we'll dive into the domestic surrealism of the ceiling fan lullaby. And finally, we'll wrap the whole thing up by tracking our mysterious uncle from Kota. Let's get right into it.
All right, starting things off with Section 1, the elephant progression, a study in escalation. We're taking a close look at Ek Mota Hathi and discovering exactly why it's so much more than just a catchy song.
Notice how brilliantly the stakes escalate here. We start off with just a single chubby elephant whose only real problem is getting trapped in the rain. A totally natural, relatable obstacle. But as the herd starts to grow, the problems shift away from the weather and turn into sheer absurd physical comedy. Soon enough, you've got two elephants getting wedged in this tiny, narrow path. Then three massive elephants try to ride a tiny bicycle, which, of course, goes terribly wrong. And by the time we hit four, they've completely crushed a wooden vegetable cart to bits, sending the poor vendors' goods flying everywhere. It's a very deliberate, masterful narrative escalation. It's perfectly designed to keep a child totally glued to the counting sequence, getting sillier and way more visually chaotic as those numbers keep climbing.
And you know what the glue is that holds that whole escalating sequence together? It's absolutely brilliant, especially when you see it brought to life with the upbeat, musical energy of those modern animations. Whenever an elephant gets stuck, they do this little hand gesture and sing out a catchy, rhythmic call for backup. Either ah, either ah, either ah, which translates to, come here, come here, come here. This isn't just some fun chorus, right? It is a highly effective mnemonic device that toddlers just love to mimic. By repeating this specific, driving summons, the rhyme naturally justifies adding one more character to the scene. It basically gives a cartoon logical reason for why we're moving from the number 1 to 2 to 3, and so on. It literally turns a basic mathematical counting exercise into this super infectious musical rescue mission.
Moving right along to Section 2, the monkey's rescue, which brings us to the climax of the story. Because every good story with escalating stakes needs a solid resolution. So we finally hit the magic number, 5. 5 fat elephants are now out for a walk together. The squad is completely assembled. And in early childhood education, 5 is a really major milestone. It's a full hand, a complete set. But, wouldn't you know it, just as they reach this numeric milestone, they walk right into their biggest problem yet. This all builds to an absolutely incredible grand finale. Our 5 elephants find themselves completely trapped in a hunter's net. Then they hit you with a classic misdirection. A monkey shows up and just starts laughing at them. So you're sitting there thinking he's the villain, mocking them, right? But in a massive twist, the monkey steps in, actually removes the net, and frees the entire herd. It all culminates in this pure, unadulterated joy where all 5 elephants come together to sway and jump and dance. It's a wonderful, cathartic release. The narrative tension that built up over those first 4 numbers is completely resolved right here at number 5. It rewards the learner with a happy, musical ending just for sticking with the counting exercise all the way to the end.
Okay, shifting gears to Section 3, the ceiling fan lullaby and the concept of dream logic. We are stepping into a wildly different kind of storytelling with Upar Panka Chalta Hai.
If you look at the verses side by side here, the structure is incredibly hypnotic and repetitive, which makes perfect sense because it's a lullaby, right? The imagery is deeply domestic and super relatable to pretty much anyone who grew up in South Asia. Upar Panka Chalta Hai, niche Ajay sota hai. The fan spins above, Ajay sleeps below. It instantly establishes this drowsy, super comforting environment. In the first verse, Ajay wakes up hungry and gets some peanuts. In the second verse, we get these minor variations. Muni is the one sleeping now, and a character named Vijay brings the peanuts. This repetitive looping is completely designed to soothe, but what happens next is where the rhyme completely abandons reality.
Now, this specific quote is literally a masterpiece of non sequitur absurdity. Mungfali maidana nahi, hum tumhare mama nahi. Translated, that means, the peanut has no seed, we are not your uncle. Let's really pause and think about the dream logic happening here for a second. A child wakes up hungry, opens a peanut shell, finds out it's empty, and the immediate, perfectly logical conclusion in this universe is to completely disown their uncle. There is absolutely no rational bridge between getting a defective snack and severing family ties. But phonetically, Dana rhymes beautifully with mama. And to a toddler's ear, that phonetic connection is vastly more important than any sort of narrative logic.
Which brings us to Section 4, the uncle from Coda, a very sudden detour. Having just been brutally disowned over a bad peanut, where exactly does this uncle go? Let's track him.
Because, the rhyme just simply cannot leave this newly disowned uncle alone. It immediately drags him into this highly specific mini-narrative. The uncle goes to the city of Coda. Why Coda? Well, because in Hindi, Coda rhymes perfectly with Toda, which means parrot. So naturally, he brings back a parrot. And what does the parrot do? It sings a song and literally forces the uncle to listen to it. It is delightfully random. It's almost as if the song is being improvised on the spot, based entirely on whatever word happens to rhyme next. This chaotic, stream-of-consciousness style of storytelling actually perfectly mimics the way a child's imagination works right before they fall asleep, drifting from a spinning fan to a snack to an uncle to a singing bird. It captures the exact essence of a wandering mind.
And that brings us to our final, pretty provocative question. How do these delightfully chaotic stories form the foundation of our early learning? On one hand, you have the elephants, which is this highly structured, escalating mathematical progression cleverly disguised as physical comedy. But on the other hand, you have the ceiling fan, an absolute masterpiece of surreal dream logic held together entirely by catchy rhymes. Together, they show us that effective early education absolutely doesn't have to be boring or strictly literal. By blending pure absurdity with structure, these traditional stories lodge themselves into our brains forever. So the next time you hear a simple nursery rhyme, ask yourself, what complex cognitive tools are hiding right beneath the surface? Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer, and remember, keep questioning the simple things.